awakening to a new way of living.
Om Shanti and a very beautiful golden evening. It is such a great gesture that we are here today to witness and experience an overwhelming event of Brahma Kumaris Jurist Wing. Gracious welcome to all of you at today's session of the National E-Conference for Jurists, organized on the theme Interface Between Ethics and Law. I take the opportunity to welcome all the eminent speakers of today's session with a happy heart. आज के सब्जेक्ट इंटरफेस बिटवीन एथिक्स एंड लॉ को अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस से एलैबोरेट करने के लिए हमारे साथ हैं गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट डॉक्टर रश्मि एम ओझा। शिक्षा रत्न से अवॉर्डेड डॉक्टर ओझा, आप रजिस्टर्ड एनजीओ ह्यूमन राइट्स एक्शन ग्रुप की चेयरपर्सन हैं। आइए सुनते हैं ज्यूरिस्ट विंग की नेशनल कोऑर्डिनेटर डॉक्टर रश्मि ओझा के सुविचारों को।
Most revered Supreme Godfather Shiv Baba, Honorable Justice Deepak Mishra Sir, the former Chief Justice of India, esteemed patron members of the Jurist Wing of the Raj Yoga Education and Research Foundation, Justice Ishwaraya Sir, Justice Rathi Sir, Justice Pashapure Sir, our brother B.K. Maheshwari Bhaiji, the Chairman of the Jurist Wing, B.K. Pushpa Bahanji, Vice Chairman, B.K. Lata Bahanji, B.K. Shraddha Bahan, sisters and brothers who are watching this e-conference, Om Shanti and a very good evening to one and all. Could one think of the interface between ethics and law is the thought which is pondering in the minds of most of us. I think I would like to place before you all two examples, and these are not just examples, these are true incidents. LaGuardia, the former mayor of New York, once presided over the police court, and a very old and feeble person was brought before him, and the charges against him were that he had stolen a loaf of bread. As per the system prevailing there, the police was heard, and LaGuardia looked at the old man who had stolen the loaf of bread, and he told him, "Well, gentlemen, law takes its own course without any exceptions, and therefore I will have to punish you. I impose a fine of $10 on you." The old man, who did not have even 10 cents, was totally dumb and shocked. He started shivering in the court. LaGuardia further said that the matter doesn't end here. I am aware that you do not have $10 to deposit in the court of law, and therefore on your behalf I shall deposit these $10. And immediately the judge deposited $10 on behalf of the old man. He looked at the audience who were present in the court, and he said that I shall now have to remit this fine. He said that I impose a fine of 50 cents on each one of you present in this court for living in such a town where an old and a feeble person has no other option but to steal a loaf of bread for survival of his own self and survival of his family. An apt example of an interface between ethics and law. Second example, a reporter once asked a successful judge, "Sir, what is the secret behind your success?" The judge replied, "Well, good decisions." The reporter asked the second question, "So, what is the secret behind your good decisions?" The judge replied, "Well, experience." The reporter exasperated, and he said, "Sir, last question. What is the secret behind your experience?" The judge said, "Bad decisions." Invariably, this teaches us a lesson. How could there be a convergence between ethics and law? This reminds me of a decision which was passed by the landmark judgment of the Supreme Court in ADM Jabalpur versus Shivkant Shukla, reported in 1976, two Supreme Court cases, page 521. And the case was during emergency whether the fundamental rights of citizens can be derogated. Majority of the judges held that yes, the fundamental rights can be taken away during emergency, barring one judge who dissented, Justice H.R. Khanna. Of the majority of the judges, the senior most judge of the Supreme Court of India then, Justice P.N. Bhagwati, was then elevated as the Chief Justice of India, who completed his tenure and then retired. After his retirement, for 37 years, his conscience, his values, his soul pinched him, and he felt like calling for a press conference and made an open confession that 37 years back, the judgment that I had passed in ADM Jabalpur was a blatant error of my life. Today, if I were to sit with the same bench and if I were to rewrite that judgment, my support would be for the dissenting judge, late Justice H.R. Khanna. Undoubtedly, this speaks of how there can be an interface between ethics and law. We are all human beings. And about human beings, it's rightly said that we human beings are the most restless species on the earth planet, driven with a very strong instinctive curiosity and with advancements in science and technology. We human beings have achieved almost all comforts and luxuries in life. But we have yet to achieve one thing, and that's humanity. The quality of any nation's civilization can largely be measured by the respect a nation state gives to its citizens towards protection and promotion of their rights and the method it uses for enforcement of these rights. India is a party to major international instruments. The Constitution of India has within the preamble fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy, and fundamental duties expressed its commitment towards protection and promotion of rights of people. Our own independent judiciary has played a very crucial role by interpreting the various legal provisions in the context of human rights. India is a democratic state, and the essence of democracy is peace and peaceful ways of settlement of disputes. The draftsmen of our Indian constitution were highly inspired by the goal of international peace and protection and promotion of rights of its citizens. Therefore, a very close scrutiny of the two documents, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948 and the Constitution of India, reveals a close identity. The very preamble to the UDHR of 1948 states that whereas recognition of inherent dignity, of equal and inalienable rights for all members of the human family is the foundation of justice, freedom, and peace on this earth. And the very first article 1 begins with the words that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. At this juncture, it strikes me of what a Chinese jurist Sun Tzu had to say, that man who is by his very nature wicked needs teaching in order to be transformed and reformed. The ancient rulers understood the viciousness of man and therefore created laws, codes, and institutions so that human beings be transformed and reformed. But we human beings often commit mistakes. We often commit error, and it's rightly said, to err is human, but to persist in error is devilish. It's been 7 decades of the UDHR 1948 and 7 decades of the Constitution of India. But what do we see all around us? We see the crimes of international nature taking place, international terrorism, international trafficking, communal conflicts, religious rivalries, attacks on minorities, custodial atrocities, victims of man-made disasters, victims of war, human rights violations by all those who are in power and position has been an answer of the day. It's not that we have not made progress. Our judiciary, our laws have been progressive. In the quarter end of the 20th century, the public interest litigation has made a departure from the traditional Anglo-Saxon adversarial system of litigation, and there came the relaxation of locus standi. The courts conferred unto itself what is termed as epistolary jurisdiction, and no doubt we hear of the court taking cognizance of the newspaper reports, inland letters, and now of late the Supreme Court has started with entertaining online petitions as well. Article 21 of the Constitution, which states that no person shall be deprived of his right to life and personal liberty except according to procedure established by law. These two words, life and personal liberty, are of widest amplitude, and it takes within its sweep even the rights which are not categorically mentioned within the Constitution of India or the rights which falls under the directive principles of state policy. We cannot forget the contributions made by the great legal jurists and luminaries like Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer, Justice M.P. Thakkar, who felt so touched and emotional about a provident fund amount which stood to the credit of the deceased husband of a widow was not being disbursed by the commissioner of provident fund, and the court immediately directed within a day disbursal of this entire amount. We have known of the cases decided by the Supreme Court where the court has given true meaning and interpretation to Article 21 of the Constitution, and the court has stated that Article 21 will be a mere nullity if the proper procedure established by law is not followed. So what is a proper procedure established by law? Well, we take lessons from what was held by the Supreme Court in Menka Gandhi's case, that any procedure which is not just, reasonable and fair is no procedure at all in law. I think all these examples stand as a complete blend between ethics and law. I remember what Free India's first Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru had to say in his very first address post-independence. He said that the service to India means service to the millions of people who suffer, and this can be done by eradication of poverty, ignorance, disease, and inequality of opportunity. The ambition of the greatest men of our time was to wipe every tear from every eye. Well, this may not be possible for us, but as long as the tears and sufferings continue, the work will not be over. At the end, I would like to quote Thomas Paine in The Rights of Man. Let's imbibe these ethics and values within our mind and consider that the whole world is my country, all mankind are my brothers, and to do good is my religion. Thank you very much, and Om Shanti.
Special thanks to Blue Book Woman of the Year title holder, Dr. Rashmi, for going so deep into today's subject. हमें बेहद हर्ष है कि इस कॉन्फ्रेंस के गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर ऑनरेबल मिस्टर जस्टिस B.D. राठी हमारे साथ हैं। आपने मध्य प्रदेश हाई कोर्ट के जज के रूप में कई लैंडमार्क जजमेंट्स प्रदत्त किए हैं। आप ज्यूरिस्ट विंग पेट्रन और कई वर्षों से ब्रह्मा कुमारी से जुड़े हैं। हिज लॉर्डशिप के महान विचारों को सुनते हैं।
ओम शांति। ऑनरेबल चीफ जस्टिस दीपक मिश्रा साहब, फॉर्मर चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया, ऑनरेबल मिस्टर जस्टिस वी ईश्वरैया जी, चेयरपर्सन हायर एजुकेशन जुडिशियल कमीशन आंध्र प्रदेश, पेट्रॉन जूरिस्ट विंग ब्रह्मा कुमारीज, ऑनरेबल मिस्टर जस्टिस A.S. Pachapuras जी, फॉर्मर जज हाई कोर्ट ऑफ कर्नाटका, Also, Patron Jurist Wing Brahma Kumaris, respected Brother B.K. Maheshwari ji, Senior Advocate, Rajasthan High Court, also Chairperson, Jurist Wing Brahma Kumaris, respected B.K. Pushpa Didi, Vice Chairperson and National Coordinator, Jurist Wing Brahma Kumaris from Delhi, respected B.K. Rashmi Ojha Behan, National Coordinator, Jurist Wing from Bombay, respected Sister B.K. Lata, National Coordinator, Jurist Wing, Abu, B.K. Satish Tannoji, B.K. Dr. Damini ji. Today's subject is very useful and very interesting. Interface between ethics and law. Ethics, also known as moral philosophy, is a branch of philosophy that addresses questions about morality, that is, concepts such as good and evil, right and wrong, virtues and vices, justice, etc. Law is a system of rules, usually enforced through a set of institutions. It shapes politics, economics, and society in numerous ways and serves as a primary social mediator of relations between people. Laws are mandatory guidelines, while ethics are voluntary guidelines. Man starts learning ethics from the time of birth, while laws according to the requirement of specific actions to make them standardized. Laws are not always based on ethics, but there is a close relation of law and ethics. Ethics involve emotions, while law is unemotional in its delivery. मैं आपको कुछ उदाहरण प्रस्तुत करना चाहता हूं कि जहां एथिक्स है और लॉ है और दोनों के बीच में सामंजस्य है, तो किस प्रकार जज में या प्रत्येक मनुष्य में करुणा का भाव, दया का भाव पैदा होता है और दूसरे व्यक्ति के प्रति और कानून के प्रति, दोनों के प्रति एक बैलेंस पैदा होता है। एक उदाहरण है, रामायण का प्रसंग है। जयंत ने जो कौवा है वो सीता जी को टोंच मारता है और उसको दंड स्वरूप उसकी एक आंख फोड़ दी जाती है। वहीं दूसरी ओर सीता जी का किडनैप किया रावण ने, जो ब्राह्मण है, ब्राह्मण के स्वरूप में साधु के रूप में आया और किडनैप किया। उसने सीता जी को कभी टच नहीं किया और बड़े रिस्पेक्टफुल वे में अपनी अशोक वाटिका में रखा। हालांकि उसने प्रपोज किया, किंतु उसको मृत्युदंड मिला। प्रश्न यह है कि जिसने टच भी नहीं किया उसको मृत्युदंड, और जिसने सीता जी की बॉडी को टच किया उसकी केवल एक आंख फोड़कर छोड़ दिया। ऐसा क्यों? वहां एथिक्स और लॉ का सामंजस्य था। देखिए, ये सामंजस्य ही करुणा भाव और दूध का दूध और पानी का पानी करने के लिए मनुष्य में एक उत्साह पैदा करता है, मनुष्य की विचारों को बदलता है। कौवा, उसका नेचर है कि किसी को टोंच मारना, इसलिए उसका अपराध उतना बड़ा नहीं माना गया और आंख फोड़ी गई। और जहां साधु वेश और ब्राह्मण वेश में सीता जी का किडनैप किया गया, वहां मृत्युदंड इसलिए क्योंकि साधु का या ब्राह्मण का ये कर्तव्य नहीं है कि वो किसी का किडनैप करे या दूसरे की स्त्री को प्रपोज करे। मैं एक दूसरा उदाहरण देता हूं कि जहां एथिक्स है वहां कानून की कोई बाधा उत्पन्न नहीं होती और ना कानून की आवश्यकता होती है। सपोज कोई व्यक्ति किसी से ऋण लेता है, समय पर नहीं चुकाता, तो देने वाला कोर्ट ऑफ लॉ में जाकर अपने ऋण की वसूली की दावा लगा सकता है। यदि यह दावा लिमिटेशन एक्ट के तहत मियाद के अंतर है, तब तो उसका लीगल राइट एक्शन में आएगा और उसको मदद मिलेगी। किंतु यदि टाइम बार्ड है तो दावा खारिज हो जाएगा और कोई वसूली नहीं हो सकती। अब यहां हम एथिक्स को देखें कि यदि देनदार के पास ह्यूमन वैल्यू है, एथिक्स है, मॉरलिटी है और वो चाहता है कि नहीं, मैंने ऋण लिया है, मुझे देना है, तो वो अपना ऋण चुका सकता है और चुकाता भी है। वहां कोई कानून उसको रोक नहीं सकता कि तुम यह ऋण वापस मत दो क्योंकि टाइम बार्ड हो गया है। अर्थात जहां एथिक्स है तो वो अग्रगण्य है, वो लॉ पर भारी नहीं पड़ सकता। तो इस प्रकार हमने देखा जहां सामंजस्य है दोनों में या जहां कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है क्या प्रभाव पड़ता है। एक और उदाहरण देखिए, कोई व्यक्ति कोई कार चलाता है और कानूनन कोई स्पीड किसी देश में नियत है और वो उस स्पीड तक चला सकता है, किंतु फिर भी यदि एथिकल है तो उसको ये लगेगा कि इतनी स्पीड से भी कोई एक्सीडेंट हो सकता है, दूसरे को चोट पहुंच सकती है, तो वो राइट होने के बाद भी कार को कम स्पीड में चलाएगा। ये तीसरा उदाहरण। कहने का भाव। एक और आप देखिए कि जहां मॉरलिटी है, एथिक्स है, वहां तो सब ठीक है, किंतु ये सब चीज नहीं है और केवल कानून है जिसको एथिक्स को कोई लेना देना नहीं, वहां की स्थिति देखिए। मॉरलिटी कहती है, चरित्र कहता है, ह्यूमन वैल्यूज कहती है कि कोई भी प्रकार का नशा वर्जित है, किंतु सरकार आज लाइसेंस देकर शराब बिकवाती है, लोगों को उत्साहित करती है कि वो शराब पिए, उनके घर बिगड़े, वो बर्बाद हो जाए। तब उस स्थिति में आप देखिए कि एथिक्स एक तरफ रह जाता है और कानून, वहां कोई भावना, कोई इमोशन नहीं सोसाइटी के लिए। कहने का भाव कि एथिक्स सर्वोपरि है। यदि एथिक्स है तो कानून भी ठीक चलेगा, एथिक्स नहीं है तो कानून भी गलत हो जाएगा। इसलिए, और जहां केवल एथिक्स है वहां मैं समझता हूं कि कानून की भी कोई आवश्यकता नहीं, वो सोसाइटी अपने आप में सर्वोपरि है, वहां सारी सुख शांति आनंद वैभव समृद्धि सब कुछ स्वतः रहेगा। जिस राम राज्य की हमारे बापू ने कल्पना की, वो राम राज्य, वहां एथिक्स था, मैनर्स थे, मॉरलिटी थी, कैरेक्टर था, ह्यूमन वैल्यूज थी, डिवाइन वैल्यूज थी, किसी कानून की आवश्यकता नहीं पड़ी। और मैं आप सबको बधाई भी देना चाहता हूं कि आने वाला समय सतयुगी श्री लक्ष्मी और श्री नारायण का इस विश्व पर राज्य होगा, वहां केवल डिवाइन वर्च्यूज होंगे और किसी कानून की आवश्यकता नहीं पड़ेगी। अब प्रश्न उठता है कि हम क्या ये संदेश देना चाहते हैं कि सारे विश्व में मॉरलिटी हम स्थापित कर दें, ह्यूमन वैल्यूज को डेवलप कर दें? क्या ऐसा मनुष्य कर सकता है? तो अपेरेंटली दिखता है इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल। सारे विश्व की प्रत्येक आत्मा को हम ऐसा ट्रेंड नहीं कर सकते, परंतु कमाल है उस परमात्मा का जो श्रीमद् भगवत गीता के वायदा के अनुसार धरती पर पिता श्री ब्रह्मा के तन में दिव्य रूप से अवतरित हुए और 1936 से इस ब्रह्मा कुमारी यज्ञ की स्थापना करी और इस रुद्र ज्ञान यज्ञ के माध्यम से आज सारे विश्व में गांव-गांव सारा ब्रह्मा कुमारी इसका नेटवर्क फैला हुआ है और घर घर जाकर हर मनुष्य को ये जागृति दी जाती है ज्ञान के माध्यम से, राजयोग की शिक्षा के द्वारा, कि वो ह्यूमन वैल्यूज, डिवाइन वैल्यूज जो उसके अंदर अपना नेचुरल क्वालिटी है, जो उसके अंदर मर्ज है, उसको इमर्ज करे और कैसे करे। और वो इमर्ज होगा तो उसके जीवन में व्यक्तिगत रूप से भी और सामूहिक रूप से भी कितना सुख, शांति, आनंद, वैभव, समृद्धि सब कुछ प्राप्त हो जाएगा। और जहां ये सब कुछ प्राप्त हो जाएगा तो वहां किसी कानून की आवश्यकता नहीं रहती है, वहां स्वतः सब लोग ऑटोमेटिक डिसिप्लिन में रहते हैं। तो बहुत सुंदर सब्जेक्ट है, हमारे सामने बहुत विद्वान वक्तागण हैं, हम उनको भी सुनेंगे। आपने समय दिया, मैं ब्रह्मा कुमारी आश्रम और जुरिस्ट विंग का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं कि उन्होंने मुझे अवसर प्रदान किया। माहेश्वरी जी का विशेष रूप से धन्यवाद, उन्होंने मुझे आज बोलने के लिए समय दिया। और एज ए पेट्रॉन मैं जुरिस्ट विंग की ओर से आप सबका शुक्रिया अदा करता हूं। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you, His Lordship, for your genial thoughts. Today, we are delighted to have our next guest of honor, Honorable Mr. Justice Arvind Shivagoda Pachapuri. He was elevated as High Court Judge of Karnataka. Former Director of Karnataka Police Force is a source of inspiration towards spirituality for hundreds of Karnataka judges and advocates. He has been serving the jurist wing of Brahma Kumaris since 27 years. At present, he is patron of the jurist wing of Brahma Kumaris. Now, let's listen to his spiritual insights.
Om Shanti. Honorable Justice Deepak Mishra, the former Chief Justice of India. Honorable Justice B.D. Rati, the former Judge, High Court of Indore. My affectionate sister B.K. Rashmi Oja, the National Coordinator of the Jurist Wing. my affectionate brothers and sisters who are participating in this program. Our institution has proposed the program on the subject interface between moral ethics and law. It is an interesting subject and most relevant in the present days. I have been given this opportunity to participate and address on the subject, and I am extremely happy to speak few words on this occasion. So far as ethics is concerned, it is a system of moral principles governing an individual in the society which controls the conduct of an individual, such individual, whereas law is a command of the state as defined by jurists, and there are many other definitions of law as suggested by different jurists. I had an occasion to hear the speech of a former district judge when I was a student of law. At that time, he has defined the law in the context of a common man of this country. He defined the law as law is nothing but common sense. Written in words, it makes no sense. Hence, we require the lawyers to argue with some sense, and then ultimately, it is for the judge to decide as to which lawyer has made the most sense. This was the definition, and it appealed me so much that it had all sort of sense as far as the law is concerned. It is interesting to note that sense is the most important ingredient of law, and sense as such is essential even for a person who maintains his ethics and who practices the law in the court. In this context, if we consider the subject relating to ethics and law, I could say that there is not only the connection between these two aspects which have been put forth, they are most interdependent also. So far as the law is concerned, there are many categories. There are natural laws, there are spiritual laws, and there are laws made by the state. So far as the natural law is concerned, it is the nature which enacts this law, and so far as spiritual law is concerned, it is the spirit of an individual, and that is considered as a spiritual law taught in the institution of ours, that is the Brahma Kumaris organization. In my opinion, spirituality is the subject matter and is the foundation for all the things that exist, including the law made by either the parliament or the state governments. Without the foundation, the law cannot stand on its own. Therefore, unless a man or an individual studies the spiritual laws, he can't be called as a perfect man so far as the law alone is concerned. So he must have the ethics and also the law, so that he can be a perfect individual, even to represent a matter before the court of law. So far as the moral laws are concerned, we know it very well that in case if there is a breach of moral duty or an ethical duty, then it amounts to the misconduct, and the punishment is under different rules. Whereas in case if there is a breach of law, then there is a punishment provided in the law. So far as a moral and ethical breach is concerned, generally a person is not put behind the bars, whereas if there is a breach of law, a person is put behind the bars. Anyhow, if we consider the law as a whole, there are many laws. There are the provisions like the Indian Penal Code, the provisions like the Hindu Marriage Act. So also there are forest laws, and all are meant to achieve the object of the existence of peace in the society. We know it very well that there are many provisions in the Indian Penal Code as against the harm that is done against a human being. A person for the offense of hurt is punishable under section 323 of the Indian Penal Code. A person for causing the death is punishable under section 3.2 IPC. This is a chapter relating to the offences against a human being. There are laws relating to the defamation also. So also there are many other laws so as to protect the nature, the trees, the plants, the animals, so forth and so on. If we consider these all provisions, basically all these laws are found on the basics of ethics only and nothing else. I can't cause an injury to some other person. It is my moral duty and also a legal duty. I cannot cause the theft of the other's property, because taking of the property of some other person is also a moral wrong and so also a legal wrong. I cannot defame a person, because I am bound by ethics not to cause hurt to anybody, whether it is either mental or physical, and for that reason I commit the breach of moral duty and also the breach of the legal provisions. So if we consider each of the provisions of the different laws, ultimately everything is dependent on the values and ethics. There is a duty to protect the nature, to preserve the trees, to preserve the forest, and it is for human good. It is not only the consideration of the humanity, and also the consideration of all the living beings on this earth. So those laws all have the punishments also. And see, in case if any person, any individual commits the breach of this ethics of protecting the nature, then it amounts to the moral wrong also. So therefore I am of the opinion that there is no law without ethics. Ethics is the foundation of everything on this earth. Even the animals also follow the ethics, not only the human beings. And every living being has to follow the ethics for fulfilling the purpose of the creation of this universe by our Almighty Shiv Baba. So therefore, I am of the opinion it is not the connection in between the two things, that is ethics and law. Ethics and law are not only connected in between, but they are part of each other. So therefore, in case if a person is to be a perfect man, a perfect lawyer, a perfect judge, then he must maintain both the ethics and have the knowledge of law as well. In the circumstances, I could say on the subject of interface between the ethics and law that they are not different aspects. They are the one and the same and form the foundation for the existence of the universe. So without ethics, there is no law. Law is based upon the ethics. It is the foundation. Ethics is the foundation. And therefore, I feel proud to say that having been in this institution of Brahma Kumaris since from the year 1993 onwards, my life experience has taught me that a person can be a perfect individual in case if, apart from ethics, apart from law, he imbibes the qualities of the values and ethics in his lifetime. So ultimately, I request all the participants who have taken part that in case if you want to study the law, study the ethics as well. And this is taught so well in this institution, Brahma Kumaris, and therefore I request that everyone should participate or be the part of this institution, study the Raja Yoga, know thyself so that you can know the other as well. I must thank our affectionate brother B.N. Maheshwari, the chairperson, my sister Lataji, having given me this opportunity to participate in this function and to address on the subject of interface between the ethics and law. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Many thanks to His Lordship. It was very thoughtful of you. Now, it's time to enjoy the melodious song by a well-known spiritual singer, lyricist and composer B.K. Dr. Damini.
योगी जीवन जी कर देखो, योगी जीवन जी कर देखो, तन मन शीतल बन जाएगा, तन मन शीतल बन जाएगा, योगी जीवन जी कर देखो, योगी जीवन जी कर देखो। बुद्धि ईश्वर से जुड़ जाए, योग वही कहलाता है। सुख हो या दुख जाएगा, नया जीवन मिल जाएगा, योगी जीवन जी कर देखो। योग है सच्ची सुख की चाबी, सुख से सदा भरपूर करे, निर्मल काया मीठी वाणी, कर्म अपने ऊंच बने, राजयोगी बनकर देखो, सबके प्यारे बन जाओगे, सबके प्यारे बन जाओगे, योगी जीवन जी कर देखो, योगी जीवन जी कर देखो।
Hearty thanks to Divine Album Singer BK Dr. Damini for mesmerizing with her sweet voice. I'm profusely elated to take an opportunity to introduce the chief guest of today's session, Honorable Mr. Justice Deepak Misra, who has served as 45th Chief Justice, Supreme Court of India. He has contributed immensely to the Indian constitutional jurisprudence. His landmark judgments in Indian judicial history enhanced the scope of the golden trinity of rights under the Constitution. Chief Justice Misra has been a strong upholder of the constitutional values and rights for the citizens. So I kindly request respected Sir to continue this session by sharing some of your experience and practical wisdom with us.
Dear brothers and sisters, before I dwell upon the interface between ethics and law, it is necessary to appositely understand the distinction between the two concepts in their proper perspective. Ethics relate to the atmosphere of moral code that is meant for certain professionals or a class, and they do sometimes project the community intent and reflect the behavioral pattern of the members in a society. The ethics command the change in behavioral pattern of the members if their action is not in consonance with the principles that the ethics lay down. Most of the people in society obey the prescriptions of ethics because of social compulsion or community commitment. An act done in accordance with the principles of ethics gets praise and appreciation. If there is any deviancy, it is condemned and decried, and a social stigma gets attached to it. There are some thinkers who draw a distinction between ethics and morality. According to them, morality rests in the world of an individual who conceives certain ideas to be good or bad according to his perception or attitude or the sense of answerability to his own concerns. Ethics, in contradistinction, mirror certain kind of definite ideology that foster and nurture the social values. In the present context, suffice it to say that ethics in a broader way encapsulate moral principles, moral guidelines, moral code, the distinction between virtue and vice, good and evil, justice and injustice, and so on and so forth. Sometimes ethics differ from place to place, from community to community. What is treated as acceptable, normal, and moral in a particular place or in a community, at other places and in other communities, it is regarded as unacceptable and immoral. But these distinctions should not be construed as they are not fragile phenomena. On the contrary, they constitute the strong pillars of the ethical structure. Having said about the ethics and its foundation, let me give a brief idea about law. Law is enacted in our democracy by the legislature. It may be the parliament or the state legislatures who legislate law depending on their respective fields as carved out in the Constitution, the organic and grand document of this country. About the enforceability of law, Holland says, and I quote, a general rule of external human action enforced by a sovereign political authority, unquote. The aforesaid definition, when simply appreciated, tells us that law is the expression of legislative will and is backed by power and authority. While talking about law, I can never forget the beautiful lines spoken by Lyndon B. Johnson. He says, law is the great civilizing machinery. It liberates the desire to build and subdues the desire to destroy. And if war can tear us apart, law can unite us out of fear or love or reason or all three. Law is the greatest human invention. All of you must appreciate that the author calls it invention and puts it on the pedestal of a greatest human achievement. There is another writer who writes about ethics, but therein he also speaks about law, that is Sidgwick. He says in his write-up, The Methods of Ethics, and I quote, law consists of such rules as it is right to enforce by a definitely organized infliction of punishments and morality of all other rules that ought to be observed, unquote. He has drawn the distinction that one is enforced by fear of punishment and the other expects the people to follow, and that is why he uses the word ought. Now, let me discuss between ethics and law and how the thinkers have put them in different compartments. There are some thinkers who are of the categorical view that ethics and law can never coexist. It's because they are of the perception ethics are basically community impulses. There are other thinkers who propagate and announce that law sometimes responds to ethics, and if necessary, it brings in a new facet of law, and the legislature takes steps to amend the law or bring in new law. Sometimes the judges of the superior courts, taking note of certain aspects and taking aid of hermeneutics of law or the science of interpretation, clear the maze with concerned empathy. I lay stress on empathy because empathy is a constitutional concern. How ethics as a part of value system is acceptable in law can be seen from a passage by Vivekananda. Once one reads it, there may be a feeling that he is talking about metaphysics, but it is not so. He is trying to tell us in his own manner that how apparently contradictory things can remain in harmonious coexistence. I quote him: "The work of ethics has been and will be in the future for not the destruction of variation and establishment of sameness in the eternal world, which is impossible for it, would bring death and annihilation, but to recognize the unity in spite of everything that frightens us, to recognize that infinite strength as the property of everyone in spite of all apparent weakness, and to recognize the eternal, infinite, essential purity of the soul in spite of everything to the contrary that appears on the surface." Unquote. According to me, the aforesaid passage clears the maze that ethics can enter into the field of law. I'll cite few examples. Ethics decry unjust enrichment. There are certain legislations which provide punishment or penalty for unjust enrichment. One can easily peruse the provisions of excise law and find it there. Ethics preach about brotherhood and love. The preamble to our grand constitution uses the word fraternity. The concept of brotherhood finds mention in Article 51A of the Constitution. I must make it clear here, I am not talking about the enforceability of fundamental duties. What I intend to say, how ethics and legal principles can coexist. Another example, ethics propagates do not hurt someone, do not abuse another, do not affect another person's reputation. The constitutional courts have recognized reputation is an inseparable part of Article 21 of the Constitution. And as you all know, Article 21 is a very important fundamental right prescribed in the Constitution and has been expansively interpreted by the Supreme Court. The principle of fairness is talked about quite copiously in the realm of ethics. Law emphasizes on fairness of action, and in fact it elevates the doctrine of fairness as a part of constitutional grammar. Having talked about the acceptance of ethical principles in law, let me now tell you how ethics and law are intertwined. If you look at section 81, especially illustration A, I am referring to the Indian Penal Code, you will clearly understand that there is an intertwining facet between the ethics and law. The illustration states that a captain is taking a ship in the sea. At that juncture, he says there is a boat carrying 20 people. There is no possibility of steering clear of the boat. If the captain goes that way, there is bound to be a collision and the boat has to be destroyed. At that point of time, he sees another small boat carrying 2 to 3 persons. There is a possibility to stay clear out of it. He decides in a bona fide manner that he should proceed that way, but in the ultimate eventuate, he cannot remain clear out of it, and there is a collision and the boat perishes and the people sitting on the boat die. But it is not a criminal offense if it is proven that the action taken or the act done was in a good faith and there was no intent or absence of intent to run down the smaller boat. There is no utilitarian principle. It's not a question of number. It's a question of bona fide and absence of intent. At this stage, I may invite your attention to a recent decision of the Supreme Court in Save Life Foundation versus Union of India. The apex court was dealing with the bystanders when the accidents take place on the road. Ordinarily, the people distance themselves because they do not intend to face harassment. After due deliberation, a scheme was framed for the Good Samaritans, and the court directed, and I quote the passage, "We also direct that the scheme framed by the central government and this order be widely published through electronic media and print media for the benefit of public, so that public is made aware, and that serves as impetus to good Samaritans to extend timely help and protection conferred upon them without incurring the risk of harassment." Unquote. Now, this decision protects the steps taken by the Good Samaritans, the bystanders. Nobody can harass them because they are assisting or helping the victim. But as the court cannot legislate, the court doesn't make it obligatory on the part of a bystander to assist the victim in the accident. One may, being involved, assist and take the victim to the hospital. One may feel otherwise, that it's not my obligation, I'm not legally bound to do it, I should escape from the scene. Law cannot punish him, but in the world of ethics, in the sphere of ethics, the man who runs away or doesn't extend help, his act is condemnable. The other man's act is laudable and praiseworthy. This is that interwoven part of between the ethics and law, which is easy to perceive but difficult to understand and give an easy answer. The answer is always complex. What I mean to say, one has to be extremely careful while analyzing the distinction and the intermingling of two concepts, ethics and law. You see, these kind of situations as described in many scriptures, books, authors, make the cynics think that law and ethics can never harmoniously coexist. They get this idea by inferences. I contradict such inferences. I am of the view law and ethics can coexist. I will give you an example from the Puranas. Rishi Astabhakra was annoyed with King Janaka as the king had violated the traffic rules. Janaka apologized to Astabhakra and beseeched to be taught about the traffic rules. Then Astabhakra tells him who has the first right or second right on the road. The shloka states, Andhasya panthaha, Vajirasya panthaha, Bharabahasya panthaha, Striyu panthaha. Let me translate. The first right on the road is that of the blind. The next right is that of the deaf. The third in the chronology is that of the man who carries the load, and the fourth is that of women. Now, such a scheme may not be possible to be enacted as a part of law, but nobody can deny or dispute that it is a glorious principle. Even in the modern days, when we travel on the road, we must recognize that this principle is applicable. The purpose of saying this is ethics are not totally alien to the field of law. They complement each other, and therefore I am of the strong view they can harmoniously coexist. There is another reason for that. Sometimes there is a social change. There is a change because of development in other fields. The society takes cognizance of it. Considering the social awareness, the legislature, as I've already told you, makes law. That's called legislative response. Similarly, the superior courts take note of that and render decisions which elevate the fundamental rights to include the deprived and the marginalized people. The court takes note of the constitutional principle of inclusiveness and also takes note of the social change. Having said that ethics and law can harmoniously coexist, I must add that it is really possible and there cannot be any quarrel over the same only if people learn to understand there is a concept called legal spirituality and also a conception called ethical spiritualism. They can accommodate ethics and law together without any conflict. It is because both deal with human conduct and behavior, psychology and science of action. At the end, I must express without any reservation or inhibition, I am extremely delighted that the Brahma Kumaris National Jurist Wing has organized this e-conference with a solemn purpose. I congratulate the organizers from the core of my heart. Thank you very much.
Many special thanks to Honorable Chief Justice for your words of wisdom. It's my great honor to invite the emissary of Raj Yoga and Peace, Rajyogini B.K. Jayanti Didi. She is the European and Middle East Director for the Brahma Kumaris in London and is NGO representative to the United Nations, Geneva. She speaks with depth and lightness, conveying her messages with a unique blend of Eastern wisdom and Western pragmatists. Let us receive Jayanti Didi's divine blessings.
Om Shanti, a greeting of peace to my sisters and my brothers. I'd like to take up two subjects, ethics and law, and also spirituality and dispensation of justice. Ethics are the code of conduct by which human beings decide to live together, creating a system of culture, a system of protocol, an agreement amongst people that this will be the code of conduct. However, when people start moving away from ethics, this is when we need to look at laws to try and see how to bring back people into the fold so that everyone is following a similar pattern of disciplines. But of course, as time has gone by and we've moved from even the Copper Age, Dwapar Yuga, into Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, we found that ethics have been left behind, and we've created more and more laws, but we're finding that lawlessness has increased. And so it seems that there has to be a way found to be able to inspire people and motivate people to actually start following a code of conduct which is based on ethics and morals. Spirituality has been able to teach us what it is to have a very high conduct of lifestyle, so that we are following principles in which we are observing the laws of the world, but also in particular the spiritual laws, the laws of karma. And what we find as a result of that is that there's a system in which justice is automatically functioning. When we break the spiritual laws, the laws of karma, then what we find is that we need again to have a system of justice, of rules and regulations and punishment, etc. And so it seems that if ethics and spirituality are brought into a system of education, this will surely have very, very high results on many different levels. Another thing that I found out just recently was very interesting, that a Washington-based project called, I have to refer to my paper now, a Washington-based project called the World Justice Project publishes an annual Rule of Law Index. This was founded in 2006 by the American Bar Association, and now it extends into 126 countries. The underpinning data for the evaluation are the 4 universal principles which define rule of law, accountability, just law, open government, accessible and impartial dispute resolution. What I've seen from the little that I read about this is that for the last decade, it's 4 Nordic countries that lead the way in this. And the places have changed, but basically it's Denmark, Norway, Finland, and Sweden. And when we look at what's going on in these countries in particular, we find that there's a very high living standard. We find that there's a greater gender equality in all respects. We find that there's high level of education. But a very interesting factor apart from all of these, that there's a general level of contentment and happiness. And people don't usually have very high aspirations of accumulation of wealth. I found that very interesting because the rule of law, and in these countries existing to the highest standard in terms of the world today, all of these factors that have been mentioned, the level of contentment of people, the happiness that they have, education, gender equality, all of these actually have their basis in terms of spirituality. And so when we are following spiritual guidelines, we're continually having lifelong learning. And so a process of education in which we're constantly learning is at work. We also find that spirituality teaches us gender equality. Brahma Baba, way back in 1936, created a spiritual revolution by enabling girls and women to be teachers and leaders, a system that still continues within the Brahma Kumaris. We love our brothers and we work closely with our brothers, but women have been given that possibility in which affirmative action happened, and so they were given the space to be teachers and leaders. And so at the moment now, there is that equal status. So it seems that spirituality, in creating all these factors, but also in teaching us to be content, and as a result of contentment, being able to have happiness, allows people to follow the rule of law. In a very natural way, we don't have to impose it from outside, we don't have to insist on anything, but in a very natural way, each one follows the code of conduct because they understand the principles of the laws of karma. And when karma has been understood, then yes, we follow the laws of the land, not only the spiritual laws, but also the laws of our country. So my recommendation would be that definitely spirituality and the education of ethics should be brought into schools on all levels of institutions, colleges, universities, so that people can learn what it is to be law-abiding in a very natural way without anything being imposed on them. I believe that all of this is possible, and certainly the Brahma Kumaris would be very willing and supportive for any further project in this direction, because we believe that it's very important to have a world in which there is justice, a world in which there is truth. In terms of spirituality and dispensation of justice, I would also like to say that along the line, whether it's lawyers or whether it's judges or any other part of the judicial system, where there are people who have a spiritual consciousness and spiritual awareness, they are far more likely to have a state of neutrality, impartiality, and they would not be open to anything to move them away from that. And in that state of being impartial and also having concern for justice, there would be wiser decision making on all levels. And so dispensation of justice would be a far truer outcome of all the things that spirituality teaches. I hope that these few remarks are useful, and my hope is that as you consider all of these factors within your discussions and deliberations, I hope that what we will do together is carry our country here in Bharat towards a future in which there is the natural rule of law for all and equally available to all also. In a world of today, it's difficult to visualize this, but my own sense is that, yes, that is surely the future that waits us. I know that at this moment, it takes a lot of effort to understand what is natural justice and what is the natural rule of law. But the more we understand spirituality and ethics and the rule of law in the world through the karma philosophy, the easier it will be for us to understand and apply all of these principles. I know that on an individual level, as each one understands spirituality and allows the self to follow a code of conduct of the highest ethics, what that enables us to do is to experience happiness and freedom within, so that we know that everything is moving in the right direction for the self and for everyone around us. But also, within the system of the world, I believe that spirituality can bring about the change that we really feel is needed. Many are very concerned about the state of the judiciary worldwide, and the hope is that as we look at all these factors but include within them the concept of spirituality and ethics, we'll be able to move towards a better world for all. Thank you for your attention. Om Shanti.
My wholehearted thanks to Jayanti Didi for her pure blessings. Your words are touching and transforming. We now invite Brother B.K. Satish Tannu, National Coordinator of Jurist Wing, to give away vote of thanks to all our speakers and incognito effort makers.
ओम शांति। आज के इस ई कॉन्फ्रेंस में आभार प्रदर्शन का काम मुझे सौंपा गया है। सर्वप्रथम मैं उस ऑलमाइटी अथॉरिटी परमपिता परमात्मा शिव बाबा का तहे दिल से आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ, क्योंकि उन्होंने जो हमको प्रेरणा दी, ताकत दी, ज्ञान दिया, उसका रिजल्ट ये आज की एक कॉन्फ्रेंस है। परमात्मा को हम परम पिता, परम शिक्षक, परम सद्गुरु के रूप में जानते हैं, लेकिन ये नहीं जानते कि वो सुप्रीम जस्टिस भी है, और सुप्रीम जस्टिस होने के नाते वो ऐसे ईश्वरीय कानून हमको ईश्वरीय विश्वविद्यालय द्वारा सिखाता है, जिससे हर इंसान एक डिवाइनाइज पर्सन बन जाता है। तो ऐसे परमात्मा का, सुप्रीम अथॉरिटी का, सुप्रीम जस्टिस का मैं मेरे तहे दिल से आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। उसके बाद हम बहुत भाग्यशाली है कि आज हमको चीफ गेस्ट के रूप में फॉर्मर सुप्रीम कोर्ट के चीफ जस्टिस श्री दीपक मिश्रा जी प्राप्त हुए। उन्होंने अपना समय निकालकर बहुत ही अच्छी तरीके से अपने विचार हम सबके सामने रखे। उन्होंने जो टाइम देके हमको जो सहयोग दिया इस कार्य में, उसके प्रति भी मैं उनके प्रति बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। उसके बाद आज की जो ब्लेसिंग्स हमने प्राप्त की है, वो ब्लेसिंग देने वाले हमारी जयंती दीदी, जो अपना बहुत व्यस्त समय निकालकर ब्लेसिंग्स देने के लिए उपस्थित है, तो उनके प्रति भी मैं बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। आपको सबको मालूम होगा, आपने बहुत बार उनको टीवी पे सुना भी होगा। तो जयंती दीदी ये यूरोप और मिडिल ईस्ट की ब्रह्मा कुमारी ईश्वरीय विश्वविद्यालय की डायरेक्टर है। उसके बाद आज हमारे बीच में हमारे दो पैट्रन जस्टिसेस हैं। पहले है श्री पीडी राठी, जो फॉर्मर जज है मध्य प्रदेश हाई कोर्ट के, और श्री एएस पाछापुरे, जो आज यहाँ उपस्थित है, वो फॉर्मर जज है कर्नाटक हाई कोर्ट के। वो दोनों ने पैट्रन ने इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में अपने विचार व्यक्त करके अपनी कॉन्सेप्ट्स सबके सामने रखी। उन्होंने जो टाइम निकाला, उसके लिए भी मैं उनके प्रति मेरे आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। उसके बाद आज की इसमें थीम में हमारी बहन जी डॉक्टर रश्मि ओझा जी, जो बहुत अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी लेते हुए भी बहुत व्यस्त होती है, फिर भी उन्होंने अपना ये टाइम अपना निकाल कर अपने विचार हमारे सामने रखे, इसलिए भी मैं उनके प्रति बहुत आभार प्रकट करता हूँ। उसके बाद आज की कॉन्फ्रेंस में जो चंदा बहन, जिन्होंने ये कॉन्फ्रेंस का सूत्र संचालन किया और हमारी बहन जी दामिनी बहन, डॉक्टर दामिनी बहन, उन्होंने भी बहुत सुंदर गीत गाया, उनके प्रति भी मैं अपने आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। उसके बाद हमारे चेयरमैन साहब माहेश्वरी जी और उनके साथ भाई बीके जयप्रकाश जी, इन्होंने भी इस कॉन्फ्रेंस सक्सेस करने के लिए अपनी बहुत समय दिया और बहुत उसके प्रति बहुत कष्ट लिए, उनके प्रति भी मैं बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। वैसे उसी तरह से जो ये कॉन्फ्रेंस सुन रहे हैं, जो मेरे कलीग एडवोकेट्स हैं, उनको भी मैं बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ। और जो ये कॉन्फ्रेंस सक्सेस करने के लिए बिहाइंड द कर्टन बहुत लोग काम करते रहते, बहुत सबका नाम लेना भी मुश्किल है, लेकिन ऐसे सभी आत्माओं के प्रति मैं अपने आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। ओम शांति, ओम शांति।
Thank you, Brother Satish, for extending hearty thanks. I must thank all of you for being part of this 2 days journey. It was truly memorable. Our journey does not stop here. We all are committed to God's mission of enhancing the beauty of life. Raj Yoga is a powerful tool for the same. May I request all of you, dear participants, to give your feedback about the program. Your feedback will stimulate us towards further improvement. We will also like to serve you about any forthcoming events. Our services are absolutely free of any charges. Wishing best to all of you and your family. May we remember Almighty and recharge ourselves. Thank you. Om Shanti.
जीवन की राहों में तुमसे उजेरा, प्रेम का प्रकाश मेरे प्राणों में बिखेरा। आंचल में भर के कहा लाल मेरा, आंचल में भर के कहा लाल मेरा। धन्यवाद तेरा प्रभु, धन्यवाद तेरा, धन्यवाद तेरा प्रभु, धन्यवाद तेरा। धन्यवाद 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 तेरा, धन्यवाद 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 तेरा। था पर खुद से अनजान थे, आत्मज्ञान पाके हुए दूर देह भान से। ज्ञान तो बहुत था पर खुद से अनजान थे, आत्मज्ञान पाके हुए दूर देह भान से। सद्गुणों से कर दिया है श्रृंगार मेरा। धन्यवाद तेरा प्रभु, धन्यवाद तेरा, धन्यवाद तेरा प्रभु, धन्यवाद तेरा। की शक्ति से हम तो निडर हो गए, पवित्रता का बल मिला हम तो अमर हो गए। पग पग पर